Hi, this is Marcia.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Marcia, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Me too. We have rain today.
We have beautiful blue skies and sunshine, but it's very cold.
It was cold here too, yeah.
I brought the Christmas cactuses in.
Oh, right.
I don't know why, but my mother always told me that you should put all your Christmas cactuses outside so they could have fresh air during the summer. This is now December, but they've been fine out there because we really haven't had, even last week it was mid-50s.
Yeah, no freezing weather.
Yeah, and so anyway, I did bring them in yesterday.
One of the reasons to put them outside is because then they get natural light. And so as the days get shorter, they notice, and that's what triggers them to bloom. Okay. But if you have them outside on your porch and your porch light's on all the time, that won't work.
Oh, no, these were sitting out on the deck. But and it's interesting, the one Christmas cactus, it belonged to my great aunt. So my mother's sister, and she had this Christmas cactus on her back porch that was, and she did keep it on the back porch year round. It was a pretty large porch. And it was all glassed in with, obviously glass windows, and then glass shelves. And that's where this, it was in that room where the Christmas cactus sat all summer, all winter. And it was gorgeous, and it was huge. It was in a pot that was about, 24 inches in diameter. And so when my mother, I think before she was married, got a clipping of that plant, and this is the Christmas cactus that I just brought in, is the clipping from my great aunt's Christmas cactus. And my mom probably got that clipping in the 50s.
Oh, nice.
Because they were married in 52. So it's an old plant.
It's an heirloom Christmas cactus.
It's an heirloom plant, yeah.
Yes. Very cool.
So, yeah. Anyway, so I have to, I protect it and baby it, but it was out there a little bit too long, but it was fine. I mean, it looks great. And it came in with some friends, not bugs. It has a liquid amber start in there, like a little. It looks like a little maple or something. A little tree started in there, so I may have to take the little friend outside.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's
cool.
Kind of funny. Yeah. Anyway, I do want to give you, though, Kelly, we had a conversation last week, I think, about Enzo and agility. Mm-hmm. And I just want to give you a little update.
Oh, okay.
Just to tell people what was going on. So I've been doing agility with Enzo, and the last 3 times he started this new thing of like frantically looking for drop treats or crumbs of treats on the floor and like licking the floor, and I can't get his attention. And it's like, what is going on? And I called you, and you said it's avoidance. That was your first. You didn't even have to think for a minute. Like,
avoidance behavior. Yep.
Avoidance behavior. The trainer at the end of the last week, I said, "So what's going on?" And she said, "Well, she suggested not feeding him as much in the morning, so he's more focused on me and the treats that I have. Not that I use very many treats with him, but." And then she also said, try and be more excited because he seems really distracted. So if I'm more exciting than whatever he's looking for on the floor, that was her suggestion. And he did seem, the last third of the class, he was a little bit better. So then you and I talked on the phone, and you immediately said it's avoidance. And we started talking, and I said, I had this aha moment that 4 weeks before, Cheryl, the instructor, had said, we're right on the cusp of graduating from Agility 2 to Agility 3. And she said to me, I bet next week you're going to graduate. You'll move on to Agility 3. And so I realized from that point on, I kept thinking, okay, so 3 weeks ago, I thought we're going to pass, and we didn't pass. And then we didn't pass again, and we didn't pass again. And I think I was creating all this anxiety. I think he was feeding off of my, what am I trying to say? Not that it wasn't fun. It was still fun, but there was this
pressure.
This pressure.
Yeah.
And I went this week and thought, I'm going to take it the attitude, I don't care. And it's true. I would like to move on to Agility 3, but we're not really ready for it. The truth is we're not ready because one of the things is I got to learn how to make it fun for him. And I was and control my own sort of emotions around it. And so when this last class this is Wednesday. And so yesterday in class, I just made it fun. Didn't even think about what level we're in or anything. Let's just make it fun. And he did so much better.
Oh, good.
Because I was told you, like, a couple times he, instead of jumping over the jumps, he just walks up and steps over them.
Yeah.
And this is like, he was excited. And sometimes and this is not good. But one time he just took off without me because he was so excited about it. That's not good. He's supposed to go when I tell him to go. But he way more excited and a lot less of that roaming around. And it was awful. It was so kind of embarrassing, that I didn't seem to have any control over him at all. Which I think then the more embarrassed I get, the harder it is for him.
Yeah.
I mean, super sensitive.
Yeah. I know in obedience class, a lot of times people's dogs just in the middle of something would just sit down and scratch. And they would be like, they sit down and scratch over and over and over during the class. And they'd be like, I don't know what's the problem because, my dog doesn't have fleas. She has flea treatments and she doesn't ever scratch at home. It's like, no, she's doing that because she needs something to do to cut the stress. Just like, okay, everything's too much. I'm just going to sit here and scratch. And so it's the same thing. Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad that you figured it out and it worked. What you thought was happening was really what was happening. And now you're moving forward again.
It's interesting too that Tuesdays are really difficult days for me. And I was trying to figure out why is this, I'm so tired on Tuesdays. And I figured out what it is. I'm learning 2 new things. So I take piano lessons, and we've been sort of just kind of playing around with my teacher and I, just sort of playing around like I'm not a serious student, But recently it's just sort of ramped. I mean, we're ramping it up, and she's getting much more demanding of me in a good way, like she has expectations now. And so last Tuesday, a week ago, the day that I called you, it was a really difficult day. And that day I was playing the song from the film Pocahontas, the animated film Pocahontas. And it has 4 key changes in it. Now, I don't know that much about music, Kelly, but that's a lot. I mean, I think that's a lot. I mean, again, I am not a musician, so anyone out there can correct me that's listening to this, but typically your song's in 1 key. Sometimes for dramatic or, so for some emphasis or a change in mood, you'll change keys. But this had 4 key changes. And it was really, really hard. And I came out of there after my hour, my head, literally kind of hurt. And I think it's from my brain is forming new pathways.
Right.
Yeah. When you're learning something new like that. And then I get an hour and a half break. And then we have to leave to go to Agility. And Enzo was that was the day he was all over the place. And then I called you. And I think he is forming new pathways in his little doggy brain too. And so he gets in the car after Agility and he just passes out on the back seat. He's just like a flat dog on the back seat. And that's how I feel. I mean, I have an understanding now of what he must be going through because I'm having to read a foreign language in a sense. That's what reading music is. It's you're having to learn a new alphabet.
Yeah.
And rules. And he's having to learn a new language too of Agility, where he's supposed to go, when he's supposed to wait, when he's supposed to start. And so I was laughing. I thought, God, maybe I may end up going to my music lesson and licking the floor, looking for
looking for trees. That's too much pressure. I have to lick the floor. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
You almost made me spit out my tea. That's
God,
very
so funny.
Well, it's very appropriate conversation since today a little later in the episode, we'll be drawing prizes for the learn along. But it is true that learning is hard. It's taxing.
It's hard,
It can make you physically tired the same way that physical activity makes you tired.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, too, in the class, there was a couple there with their dog, and the wife kept saying, I think he's getting tired. I think we should stop. I think he's getting tired.
Yawning.
The dog was yawning and very distracted.
That's another one of those avoidance behavior things, yeah.
And so, well, let me then ask you this question, because I think there's sometimes when learning it's okay, everybody needs to take a break. There's sometimes you do need to take a break. Sometimes great learning takes place if you just push through the exhaustion.
Yeah.
Because there's been a couple times in music where I'm like, okay, I really don't want to do this, but I have to, and I push through it. And so, and I was thinking too that dogs are built to work for us, and they're built to work for us, and they're built to please us, and they're built to learn from us. And so this notion of, oh, it's just too much for him, we need to take a break. It's only like a 45-minute class. So a dog can handle something for a training for 45 minutes.
And
I would think.
And the yawning is stress yawning. That's another thing. When I was training, if my dog would yawn, I'd be like, "Oh, good, I'm making you work.
I'm doing
I'm making you work. You're. This is hard for you. Good."
Yeah. So that's it. Enough of dog training. But it is actually, this last time was really fun because I was like, okay, you know what? This should be fun. Learning this stuff should be fun. It's not a job. This is fun. We're doing it for fun.
Right.
If it wasn't fun, we shouldn't be there.
Exactly. For either of you. Yeah.
Well, should we talk projects?
Yes, let's do that. So I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
I did finish the running water cardigan. I know I said last time that I would be finished by the time the episode published, and I think I put a picture in. I've worn it a ton, like 3 times in 2 weeks.
And it's really pretty.
Thank you. I really love it.
And it looks like it fits really well, too.
It does. It does grow a little bit during the day as I'm wearing it. I notice one shoulder kind of starts to like stretch off of my shoulder, but overall it fits really well. It has a tendency on one shoulder. I think I have one shoulder that's different than the other because my necks of tops sometimes look crooked. So anyway, it slips down on one shoulder, but not badly, and it doesn't come off. It's not the kind of thing, those sweaters with the open fronts where you're wearing it and it's falling off your shoulder. It's not like that at all because it's really like a set-in sleeve. It's just the line. The line of the set-in sleeve, how it's supposed to go across the top of your shoulder. That line kind of slips down just a little bit over my shoulder. But no, I love it. And it's so soft and it's so warm. And I am super happy with it.
And how's the itch factor around the neck?
I wore it with a T-shirt. I've worn it with mock turtleneck mostly, but I wore it one day with just a regular T-shirt and it was fine. So I'm really happy. Now on the other side, I can see it's going to pill. It's going to be one of those sweaters that you really have to, keep up on the pilling.
The other side, you mean the
one on the one hand it's soft, on the other hand.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't mean the other side of the sweater.
I'm sorry, the other side of the sweater? Wait a minute, what?
On the other hand, I guess I should have said.
Okay. I'm just so literal.
So yeah, I'm really happy with that. And then the other thing I finished is something I hadn't even started at the last episode, and that's a pair of, they're called Joe's Perfect Slipper Socks. And it's a pattern by Cozy Up Knits. And they're a video show and I don't watch a lot of video shows, but I found them one day when I was wanting to watch, just kind of veg out and watch something on YouTube. And I started watching them, and it's 4 sisters from Grand Prairie, Alberta. And they all talk at the same time. Two of them are experienced knitters, and then two of them are twins and are less experienced knitters. And they all sit, together in this. When they record, they're all sitting together and they're all talking, and half the time they're talking all over the top of each other and interrupting each other. And it just reminds me of my family. So I really enjoy it. If you don't like people talking over each other, if that bothers you, you might not like that. It's pretty chaotic, but I think it's a really fun show. It's called Cozy Up Knits. It's on YouTube. But they're pattern designers. Two of them are pattern designers. And so they had this pattern that they just put out, Joe's Perfect Slipper Socks. It takes 2 strands of fingering weight yarn. You do a toe up toe, and then that's on one side, and then you go a little ways, and then you make a heel. And when you're done, it looks like you have, it almost looks like you have a tube with a toe on either side, and then a hole where your leg comes out, kind of offset from the center. So they're kind of odd looking, but they fit great. And because it's 2 strands of fingering weight held double, they're really squishy. There's something really airy and squishy about doing that. They were easy. They were fast. I think I made my pair in like 2 days. I just needed, after the sweater, I wanted something quick.
Quick and easy, yeah.
And so I started them, and it took me no time at all to finish them. So I finished one pair. I started another pair, but they haven't gotten very far. So that was another finished object that I did in between podcasts.
Oh, here, I'm looking. These are the slipper socks. I'm looking at your Ravelry page.
Okay.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah, they turned out, I used the yarn that we got. Remember the Knit Picks Felici that we got at Stitches?
Oh, right.
That's the yarn I used because I had 2 balls of it. So I thought, well, that's perfect. 2 50-gram balls. And I thought, well, that's perfect because I don't have to wind yarn or anything. I don't have to pull from the inside and the outside of the ball. I can just have 2 balls going at the same time. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, I like that pattern. I highly recommend it. Okay. And then I also have started something that I'm actually almost finished with. It's the Eunice Unicorn Hood. This is for my grandniece. She's crazy about horses. I don't know if I told this on the podcast, but her mom had made her stick horses for one of her birthday parties. She had made stick horses, and so Faye had 2 or 3 different stick horses, and she was going to change them into...
I'm sorry. I'm just looking at Ravelry at this.
Oh, okay. Isn't it cute?
Keep going.
So yes, my niece had made these stick horses, and then a couple years later, she decided to have a party for Faye that was unicorns, and so she made these unicorn horns that attached to the stick horses with elastic. And then she also made those unicorn horns with elastic for all the kids for party favors. So anyway, she had this great plan, and one morning she wakes up and she finds that Faye has given all of her stick horses a haircut. She's cut their manes all the way down to the neck. So anyway, she ended up, I thought it was really funny. She was not thinking it was funny at first, but I think she got over it. She ended up fixing their manes and using them as unicorns. But anyway, I'm making this as a horse, not a unicorn. So I won't be putting the unicorn horn on it, but it will have plenty of fringe for Faye to cut. Well, if she finds like scissors unattended.
You should tell listeners what it is. It's like a hood and a scarf combined.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then like this, well, I say the scarf goes down and then there's pockets. And then fringe on the pockets and like a mane going down the hood.
Yeah,
and ears.
It's really cute.
It's really cute, yeah.
And it makes a cute unicorn, but I'm making it as a horse. And I went to Joann's and bought the Lion Brand Thick and Quick. So I've got a gray, sort of a variegated striping, pale gray, and then that's the horse. And then I bought a burgundy with sparkle in it, and a variegated like purple and gray and yellow and blue, sort of a variegated yarn that ran more toward purple. So the main is a little bit of the gray, but mostly the sparkly purple and the variegated purple. So I'm having a lot of fun. I'm done with the body of it. It's all put together, except I need to finish. I started the mane. It's going to take forever. And then once the mane is done, you put the ears on.
Is the mane just tied on?
Yeah, use a crochet hook and you just make, you pull it through and then pull the ends through the loops like a slip knot. Yeah, and you do a row of, use 2 strands at a time and you go and you do 3 in a row. Okay. So it's a nice thick mane. She'll have fun giving it a haircut.
Cutting it. So just keep it. So hopefully you'll have a bunch of the yarn left over. So in case. You could put the hair. Yeah, in case there's a haircut, you can put it back and she can cut it again.
Oh yeah. If Sarah wants to do that, she can.
You just give her the extra. Sarah, here's the extra yarn.
My knitting doesn't come with a warranty against unattended scissors and 4-year-olds.
So funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm really happy with it. It's coming out really good. And that's the extent of my projects that I've been working on. I have a couple of things sitting in my project page, but I haven't worked on. So,
well, I don't have much more to report. I have 3 projects that are just sitting. The slack tied, the scarf that I'm making out of the concentric by haiku.
Oh, yeah.
That's just sitting. The rabbit by Claire Garland's just sitting, and the cloud cover sweater by Heidi Kermeyer. That's all just sitting. I decided to get back on the horse after Thought Heel socks. And so I'm just knitting a pair of vanilla socks. And I'm using, though, spirit yarn. I got a ball of Osterman Steppe. That's what the body of the main sock is out of that. And then I have a ball of Knit Pick Stroll that I'm doing the heels and the toes out of that. Not afterthought. I just...
Maybe next time, right?
Maybe next time. No, all I did is I just started at the top. This is how I do my vanilla socks. I just do some ribbing at the top, stocking it down to where I start the heel flap. And picked up, I think based on your recommendation, Kelly, when we talked about it, I just did the heel flap in the contrasting color, the gray, and then, turn the heel. And then I just went back to the striping yarn for the gusset and down to the part where I'll start the toe, and then I'll do the toe in the contrasting gray.
Nice.
That's my plan. And it feels nice to just knit a sock and not have to think.
Not have to learn anything.
Not have to learn anything, right? And feel those pathways being formed. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm back on the horse and I'm knitting this sock. And I do have to say though that I can't remember. Did I say this? It was from the yarn is spirit yarn, but I got it at the D-Stash room at Knockers. 2 different years.
Oh, okay. Oh, both of them are D-Stash.
Yeah, both of them are D-Stash. And but the Osterman Steppe is from Julie J. Chant.
Oh, okay.
When I think in one of the episodes when I talked about the things that when we our guilty pleasure going to the D-Stash room, and I mentioned this particular yarn, she said that was hers that she had donated. So I'm finally using her yarn.
Nice. And I used hers for that was the chickadee.
Yeah.
We've both been lucky in the D-Stash room.
Yeah, she's a good resource for spirit yarn.
Really, yes.
Anyway, so that's really all I have for projects. The rabbit, I want to get back to the rabbit, but I was knitting along and counting the pattern, just every line, as I would do what that sentence said to do, I would tick it off. And I was counting all my stitches, and now I'm at the part where you start separating for the legs, and my stitch count is off. Or I think it is. Maybe I'm doing it the right way, but I think it's off.
How much off?
Several stitches. Oh, Well, here's what confused me is the shaping is done with wrap and turns. Mm-hmm. And it says this part now to separate for the legs. I think it says something... I can't remember if this is the exact number, but I think it says knit 46 stitches turn. So, but I'm not going to wrap and turn.
Oh.
And so I got kind of like, am I reading this the right way? And so I wasn't sure, was I supposed to knit to the end of the row and turn, or do I just turn in the middle of the work? So I need to go onto the forum about the rabbit and read about that. And there's tutorials too. So I have to admit, it's one of those things after those socks and piano and dog, I just kind of need to take a little break, kind of. And then when I'm in the mindset that I can go back and figure it out, I'll go back and figure it out. It's probably one of those things I'm overthinking it. Mm-hmm. It probably just literally means just turn your work around and don't wrap and turn. I mean, there might be a reason why it's not supposed to have a wrap and turn.
Yeah, especially if that's where you're going to separate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I understand exactly what you mean about not wanting anything you have to think about. There's been a couple where I chair the curriculum committee at work, and we have a deadline for all of our curriculum to be approved to make it into the 2019-2020 catalog. And that deadline is the end of this semester. So everything has to be done in fall for next fall's catalog. And of course, just like everyone else in the world, faculty wait till the last minute. Mm-hmm. And so the last few meetings, we've had all of this stuff that, everybody feels like it absolutely has to be on the agenda. And so our last few meetings have just been overly packed and trying to manage. First of all, I try to manage. Not everybody can come for the whole meeting, and some people are in class. So I'm trying to manage, like, who just came in. Okay, let's get their stuff done while they're here because they have to leave.
Right.
Who's on the agenda next but isn't coming until 3:30. So all of that has to be in my mind. Plus, I'm trying to, move things along so that we don't get bogged down in discussion so we can finish things. And anyway, plus be part of the discussion and all of that. So there's been a couple of Thursdays where I've come home from work. I can't even knit. I mean, it's that same kind of feeling, like not even a mindless project. I just need to sit and watch a YouTube show.
I was going to say watch QVC.
Well, B videos. That's my
B
videos. Well, Cozy Up Knits I started watching before, but I've watched a lot more since this has happened. This end of the semester has happened. And then also the 628 Dirt Rooster has B videos, and I watch his B videos. Like my brain just can't handle another thing on some of those days. Like not even a project I know how to do. So I totally understand why you've put those other things on hold.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for projects. I also just wanted to mention a couple things. I went to see Stephanie Wilkes.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that.
Last Thursday, and she was down in Columbia City in Seattle. There's a store called Eileen Fisher Renew, and I had never heard about this, so I'll tell you about that too. But Stephanie was there, and she read from her book, and she signed copies. And then there was another woman there. Her name is Kathy Hattori of Botanical Colors, and she makes natural dyes, and she was talking about the whole process of sourcing the dyes and getting consistent sources of dyes. She also sells the dyes online. She does workshops, and what she really does, she works with manufacturers, apparel manufacturers and artists who want to incorporate natural dyes into their product lines.
Nice.
And so her connection with Eileen Fisher is they do the overdying. So what Eileen Fisher Renew is, and people may have heard about this, I had never heard about it. It's very cool. What they do is any Eileen Fisher garment that you own that is worn, it's stained, has holes, you just don't like the style anymore, you can bring it into an Eileen Fisher retail store, and they'll give you a $5 credit. And that you can use towards, purchasing something in the store. They gather all that clothing, it's sorted through, and then they do a variety of things. They either repair it, if it can be repaired. They over-dye it. And some of the garments, then they actually just cut apart and remake into other items.
Oh, wow.
So very interesting. And so it was at the, as I say, this reading and at this event was at the Renew store. So I got to see it. And everything is, what am I trying to say? I think Eileen Fisher doesn't really go out of style. So it's such a kind of classic lines. I think it's always sort of in style. So you really can't go wrong buying anything there. And the prices are pretty reasonable. Some of the things are very expensive where they've actually taken sweaters. It feels like it could be cashmere or merino wool, and they've cut them apart and then made coats out of them. So sounds weird. It's like a patchwork quilt kind of, except but instead of small, they're like big blocks of color and sort of the same tone. So maybe like different shades of brown, and very nice, very elegant. They had a really interesting dress that was a velvet, kind of a goldy, sagey green velvet and then it went right probably like thigh, a little up, like just above the knees. Then they had the sort of the same color but the sheer silk that went down below. Very interesting clothing.
Oh, wow.
So, Kelly, next time you come to Seattle, it'll be on our list of to-do things, just to go down and see it, because that's really interesting. And then the reason for this is, I've heard this before, is that the apparel industry is a huge polluter. And not just the dyeing part, but just the and things, what's left on the cutting floor, but also just landfill, like all the clothing that doesn't sell or that's
and
not
the
used.
Clothing that people buy and then don't wear. I mean, they buy it and they wear it for a season and then they toss it.
Right. And a lot of times people donate things to the Goodwill and to thrift stores, but there's only so much that can be then purchased, right? And at some point we have to do something with all that clothing. So the idea of trying to keep clothing out of the landfill, which is a very cool idea.
Yeah, kind of slow down fast fashion in a way. Yeah.
Right.
And I think I was listening to an interview with Kathy Hattori on the Weave podcast, and she was talking about not specifically the Eileen Fisher Renew store, but that there are other clothing manufacturers who are reworking their items, like things that don't sell. They take them back and rework them and then resell them in another way. But that's very interesting. Yeah. And she has a website where she sells the natural dyes, but her focus in this interview was at the large scale, like sort of at the industrial scale, to supplying natural dyes for companies to do whole giant batches of clothing that either doesn't sell or comes back. Yeah.
And then a discussion of not necessarily for Renew, but she consults with other manufacturers about who want to incorporate natural dyes into their new products.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And talking about because you're talking about a dye that comes from a plant material, or if not necessarily a plant material, but some sort of natural material, that it's not always going to turn out the exact same way, right?
Right.
Because you're talking about a natural, organic material. And so the phrase that she said is that she tells the manufacturers, well, does every strawberry taste the same? Which is true. Like every plant's, depending on where they're grown and how they're grown, everything's going to taste a little bit differently. The dye is going to attach differently. Someone in the audience asked the question about why she picked Seattle. She's originally from the Bay Area, I believe, and she picked Seattle for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons being the water. And the water was because is not such a high mineral water that it's better for dyeing, which made me think, Kelly, about we dye at your house a lot, and your water is very high mineral
extremely
content.
Hard water, yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering, it'd be interesting, just an unscientific experiment, to take the exact same wool, the exact same dye mixture, and exact same everything, but different water, Seattle water and Salinas water, and see what happens.
That would be interesting. That would be a fun...
Because it does make sense that hard water probably would affect how the dye attaches to the fiber, I would think. But anyway, so a really interesting conversation.
I mean, a lot of the dyeing is, even with acid dyes, it's about the pH of the water.
Yeah.
And that is going to affect it.
So, and it was really nice to meet Stephanie in person. And
I'm glad you got to do that, yeah.
The event was very well attended, met people I knew there, and so it was a really fun event.
Yeah, we had a couple of listeners there, right? Courtney was one of them, and...
Yeah, and Jane.
Okay.
And there may have been others, but I didn't know who they were. So
they didn't fess up.
No, they didn't fess up. But I like to think that some of our listeners showed up, so that we through promoting it.
After recording, Marcia and I found out about 2 San Francisco Bay Area events that are upcoming. One of them is at Books Inc. in Berkeley. That will be January 8th at 7 p.m. And the other one is at the Treadles to Threads Spinning Guild, their February meeting. I believe that meeting will be February 27th, but their meeting schedule is subject to change because of the calendar of the Contra Costa Library where they meet. So do check their website to be sure. So you have an opportunity to hear Stephanie speak about her book if you live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Check for links in our show notes at 2usefiberadventures.com.
If you have a chance to go to one, it's really fun.
Yeah, she was just, I saw on Instagram, she was just in Montana doing events there. And I think she's already done an event at A Verb for Keeping Warm in Berkeley. But hopefully we'll be able to let people know where she's going to be next.
Yeah.
So, and we have a book giveaway. It ends on December 16th, so you could be the lucky winner of a copy of Raw Material, Working Wool in the West is the name of the book. And so on our Ravelry group, there is a thread that asks about the raw material that you use, the local material that you use in cooking or crafting or yarn, fiber. And so you just put in a little information there and you'll be entered to possibly win a copy of her book.
Yeah.
So do that by December 16th, the next time we record. Well, this time we have drawings, though. Do you want to do that now?
Well,
or do you have one more thing
to
say?
I have one more thing I want to mention, and then we'll do drawings. So in the last Thursday issue of the New York Times, I wanted to share it with people because we've been talking about sustainability and carbon beneficial and things made in the United States. So in the New York Times style section last Thursday, there was an article called The Annals of Flannel. And they're talking about the clothing company American Giant and how they wanted to produce a flannel shirt that's 100% made in the United States. And they discovered that that's not really possible because all the flannel now that we no longer weave flannel in the United States, all the flannel is now woven in Portugal, which is interesting to me. The article is about how they're going about trying to find the cotton that's grown in the United States, milled in the United States and spun in the United States, and then finding manufacturers with looms that can actually weave the flannel shirt. Because so it's an interesting article just to hear about the process. The one thing I thought was kind of interesting is flannel shirts that were made years ago, 50 years ago, they had up to 12 colors in them. And the looms that they can find now can only do up to 6 colors.
Oh, wow.
Very, very interesting. So and I went to their website because I thought, I want to buy one of these shirts. And my brother loves flannel shirts. I thought he would, and he buys American Giant a lot. So I thought this would be a perfect gift for him. Well, they're not available yet. So I put my name on the wait list to be notified when they're available. I only read about half the article when I got all excited, and I thought, I bet this shirt's going to cost $500, right? Because it's
right.
It's there's a price.
Very expensive, yeah.
You pay a price to have things made 100% in the United States
because we don't have the supply chain anymore.
We don't have the supply chain, and so but then I went back and I finished reading the article, and they think that they're going to retail around $100.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not bad. They were also talking about how that they're so committed to doing this that they actually bought a factory in someplace in the South. They bought, in 2013, American Giant bought a sewing facility in tiny Middlesex, North Carolina that was scheduled to shut down, saving the jobs of 120 workers there. So they're really trying hard to make clothing in the United States, and I don't know. I think it's a very cool idea. And so I'm on the list to get a flannel shirt, and hopefully I'll get it soon. And I was going to buy one for my brother, too. So I put this on Instagram, I could not figure out, Kelly, on Instagram how you make a link to the article.
You can't.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
You can only put a link. You could put a link in your profile.
Oh.
In your your profile page, and then you just have to say link in profile.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we'll put a link in the show notes because it is a really interesting article.
It was interesting.
And I'm not I'm not paid by American Giant to promote American Giant, but I think very cool that they're trying this.
Well, I have to say that all this talk about clothing. I mean, I don't like clothing that much. I mean, I wear clothes because I have to,
Thank you, Kelly.
I want to be warm and I want to cover myself.
Your students thank you too.
Right. But I'm not. We could talk about the whole being in a male dominated field and clothing conversation. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not really. For most of my career, I have not been very interested in clothing. And when I started knitting, I'm interested in knitting clothing, but still it was kind of like I'm not that interested in clothing. But all of this talk about American-made clothing and fibers in the U.S. and weaving and cloth that's woven here and all of that just got me sort of excited. And I went to the American Giant website and I realized I had been there once when I was looking for some American-made jeans for Robert for Christmas one year. And I don't remember them having such a large selection of things. But now I can see like the things that I typically wear, like T-shirts and jeans. I could actually buy T-shirts there made in the U.S. T-shirts, and they're not Target prices.
Right.
But they're not bad. They're not what I was thinking it would be.
They're not $500 T-shirts, right?
Yeah. So, and then I'm already a big fan of Houston Textiles. They weave the climate beneficial cloth that was part of the pilot program that FiberShed did that year. And so I have 3 yards, I can't remember now. I have some yardage of that natural color climate beneficial cloth, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with it. So I've been back on the Houston Textiles site recently and saw that they have climate beneficial cloth that's red. And it's made from Lonnie's Rambouillet wool from Bear Ranch, the same wool that we have. But also the other, one of them, I can't remember if it's warp or weft, but one of them is from Imperial Ranch in Oregon, the one that did the sourcing for the Olympic sweaters that year.
Right.
And so anyway, I looked at it and looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and finally I bought it. I bought 2 yards of this red wool twill. And then I was on Sally Fox's website again because it's very tempting and she has cones of yarn. And she had brown cotton flannel. And it's grown here. It's part of it is spun here in the state of California. Part of it is spun in North Carolina, and then it was woven in North Carolina or South Carolina. Now I can't remember. But anyway, all made in the U.S., this cotton flannel. So I now have a fabric stash. I don't know what I'm going to be sewing. For a long time, I thought, I don't really care about clothes that much to sew. I'm not interested in sewing. But I care about this American-made, U.S.-produced supply chain for textiles. And now these fabrics have just gotten me inspired. So I don't know what I'm going to be making. I've said before I don't wear dresses. But then I started thinking if I just change my mindset and I don't think of them as dresses, I think of them as long tops. Over which, under which I wear leggings, maybe? I don't know. I don't want to make something I'm not going to wear. So I'm still in the phase of trying to figure out what I'm going to do with all this fabric. But I'm really excited about this yardage that I have that's all U.S. made, and a good portion of it is California and West Coast grown and made.
Well, and then one of the things that just your statement though contradicted what I said about the articles. The article in the New York Times said that no flannel is woven in the United States. They must mean on a commercial level.
Yeah.
Clearly, you have flannel that was woven in milled in the United States.
Well, it's not plaid flannel. That might be part of the difference.
Maybe that's
it's
the
a
difference,
solid brown flannel.
Yeah.
And then also she said in her Sally says on her website something like, I didn't think I had any more of this, but I found some. So I don't know when it was woven. Mm-hmm. She's been doing this project since the 90s, I think. Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, I just discovered Miriam Felton does a show called Yarn Stories, and Sally Fox was interviewed on the 2 most recent episodes.
Okay.
I haven't listened. It's Miriam Felton. She's a knitwear designer, and the name of it is Yarn Stories, and it's yarnstoriespodcast.com is the website.
Okay.
Anyways, I haven't listened, but if you're interested in Sally Fox's story, she tells it over 2 episodes.
Okay.
So I thought that was very coincidental since I just bought some fabric. Kind of exciting, this sort of tangent we've gone off on.
Yeah, but now back to business.
Back to business, yes. So yeah, we have some business to do. We have a couple of drawings to do today. This is kind of exciting.
So the first one, let's do the Learn Along.
Okay.
Let's do that, the Learn Along prize drawing. So let's do that one.
All right. So,
random number generator.
Okay.
And we should say too that we are going to have 5 drawings.
Yes, 5. We have 5 prizes, and I should mention these are from Catherine Knutson. She's Small Bird Workshop on Ravelry, and she has a website and shop, smallbirdworkshop.com. She has yarn, hand-dye yarn, and she has patterns. Mm-hmm. And her patterns are also available on Ravelry. I went and looked at them because Marcia and I both got pattern coupon codes, as well as she donated 5 of them for prizes. And so I've been looking at her patterns, and she has one bundle of patterns that she says is good for variegated yarn. So I thought that's really good, because a lot of times you look for a pattern, you're trying to find one that you think will be good for variegated yarn. So anyway, she has donated codes for people to get a pattern from her. 5 of them.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, draw the first one.
Okay, the first one is number 32, Holity Terry, who lives in Illinois.
All right.
Congratulations.
Yay, Terry.
Yay.
Terry just recently finished an Orca run sweater.
Oh, okay.
She and I were both working on it at the same time last year, and she just finished hers. It's really pretty. Okay, and I'll draw the next one. It's number 25. It's Linda LME Call from Pennsylvania.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Linda made a headband with an I-cord bind off, I think. All right, who's next?
The next is number 15, A.R. Hansen, known as Allie. And she lives in Wisconsin.
Oh, yay. All right. The next one I have, the number is number 23. So that's Lucky 13. She was lucky. Lucky 13, Christy from Nebraska.
Yes. Okay. And I'll get the 5th one is number 6, Strick Caddy from Germany.
All right.
And we don't have a first name, but it's Strick Caddy from Germany. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to everyone. I thought it was so much fun looking through that thread for the Learn Along. And I have a few notes here about things that people made that I wanted to just kind of mention and talk about. It was fun watching what everyone did.
Well, and before that, so everyone should just private message you?
Yes.
Okay.
Send me a message, and I will get you your coupon code for your pattern.
Yes. Okay.
And thanks again, Catherine. Really appreciate your generous donation of 5 patterns for prizes for this. This was our biggest knit along, crochet along that we've done. weave along. Yeah. We had all kinds of stuff going on here. It was the most entries.
And really interesting things that people did. So let's just mention some of them.
Okay. Well,
I know we talked earlier and you have some categories. You're the teacher. You know how to organize this.
Well, I was just kind of amazed because there were so many people who did their first sweaters. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool. LWT1 Lori from Massachusetts did her first sweater. And Mary M. Gray, she's from Alabama, she did her first sweater. And Super Kip, who is Natalie from the Netherlands, I think hers was a first sweater in the round, or sweater that wasn't in pieces. And then Cheryl B. 1262 did her first bottom-up sweater. And then Knitting Travels, Shelley, she did her first yoke sweater and wore it to Rhinebeck. Mm-hmm. And Allie, who just won a prize, she did her first seamed sweater. So lots of first sweaters, which I think I'm impressed by that. So lots of very first sweaters. And then a couple of people, Lucky 13 is one of them, who did their very first weaving projects. Mm-hmm. Lucky 13, Christy, did one. And Arctic Woolies, Lisa, who's from Alaska, she made the most beautiful woven pillows and then went on to make dish towels. 8 shaft. I mean, she just jumped right into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
With her first weaving project. So that was very cool to see. And then we have first crochet project. And Lucky 13 was one of those too. She did a swatch of single crochet and then a swatch of double crochet. So she learned a bunch of different crochet stitches. So we got to see all the stages of her crochet learning. And then Mimi, she's from California. Her Ravelry name is Mimi Fan. Mm-hmm. She also did her first crochet project. So I thought that was cool. And then the first knitting project, first ever knitting project.
Yes.
These were impressive too. There's 2 first ever doing the craft. Mm-hmm. So first knitting was Yes Another Hobby, which I had to laugh about that.
Yes, fact, I did too.
I messaged her and I said, I think we're cut from the same cloth since I'm 100 projects. When I saw her name. But she made a scarf. That was her first knitting project. And then she went on to make a second knitting project, a hat. And then Stephanie did a first skein of yarn. Yeah. Which I always love to see that. A first skein of yarn. She had sheep as a younger person in 4-H or FFA, one of those things, and raised sheep, and then eventually came to knitting, and then from knitting she came to spinning. So she kind of got to the spinning in a roundabout way, but she spun her first skein of yarn for Hour Long. And then the other category that I thought was an interesting category was equipment. Interesting equipment. So Holiday had a Shetland knitting belt, and so she did the learning of how to use a Shetland knitting belt and did some knitting with the Shetland knitting belt. And then Cindy Q learned how to use a box loom, which I had never even heard of a box loom before.
No, I had never heard of it either. It looks very interesting. Yeah. So
it was fun. It was very fun to read what everybody was doing and see all the new things that people were learning. And there was a lot of chat too. The chatter thread was really robust.
Yeah. Well, a couple I just want to mention. Data Knitter, Pat, did her first sweater with the combo spin that she had made. And it's beautiful. And we saw her in, I think at Stitches last February, where she was buying the different skeins, trying to decide what to put together. So I was really pleased to see her sweater. It's beautiful.
I've seen it in person. It really
you have?
Yeah, it really is beautiful, and it fits really well. Yeah.
And then lots of brioche. I noticed a lot of people learn brioche.
Oh, yeah. In fact, somebody did a brioche 1-color swatch, a brioche 2-color swatch, and then brioche socks.
The brioche socks were very interesting. Yeah.
Who did the brioche
socks? That was Strick Caddy, I think.
Oh, okay. That's
from
right.
Germany. Yeah.
Yes.
And then also, I wanted, because I've always been interested in this knitting, but Cookie Lady Knits, she did a sample of illusion knitting.
Oh, right.
Where you, as you change the angle of the perspective of your knitting, the pattern changes.
Right. Yeah. You can't see the image at first, but if you look at it from the side, you can see the image.
Yeah, that's it. You can see the image. Not that it changes, but you can then see the image. It's revealed to you. So I thought that was really interesting.
She decided she didn't want to do it anymore. I thought that was great. That was kind of like you with your project. But yeah, we have woven rugs. Mary made woven rugs, and then these are fun. I have to. I wasn't sure when she was talking about them on the discussion board, but once I saw the pictures, like, oh, okay. Knit One Pug 2, she made socks with toes, so like socks for flip flops. So, and she doesn't think she likes those either. She doesn't like toe socks. She's not sure she likes them. So a few people learned that they didn't like whatever it was that they were doing.
Yeah,
which is just as important as
like me.
Yeah, it's just as important to learn what you don't like to do as it is to learn what you do like to do.
Exactly.
And then there were some people who did some first stranded knitting. Jean 3 did a stranded knitting project. Dorothy, she made that bobble hat with the sheep on it. I think that's so cute. I think I want to make that at some point.
I want to make one of those hats.
Yeah. That bobble hat it's been around for a while, but it's super cute. Yeah. I would call this a big success.
Yes. Yeah. Seems like it got people forging new pathways in their brain.
Yes, exactly. Our brains are so big now.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Well, we have one more drawing. So we have a Patreon page, and I'll link to it in the show notes. If you're interested, you can support us on our Patreon page. But we have 9 daring adventurers who support our podcast through our Patreon page. And we're going to draw from the 9. We have a quarterly drawing for patrons. So these 9 daring adventurers go into a drawing. So let me select here. And the prize that the winner will get is their choice of a skein of yarn from the shop, and also a beeswax product. So I'm going to be doing some beeswax work this weekend. So I'm not sure what I'll make. It might be lip balm, it might be hand balm, but I'll tuck a little one of those inside the package as a part of the prize. So let me draw from our patrons, and out of 9, I've got number 4. I have a list of them from the website. They're not actually numbered in the website, but I pulled down a list of them. I have them in a spreadsheet, and so I'm selecting the number of the row that they're in this spreadsheet. So I've selected number 4, and let me look who that is. Oh, that's Erica Jones. All right.
Ooh, yeah,
congratulations, Erica. Erica actually just contacted me to let me know about her website. She has the Weevolution Online Knitting Guild and website. So I've heard of it. She and her husband purchased it a few years back, and I had gone on it, but I never actually got an account or anything like that. So I did get an account, so I'm going to poke around on the website, and I haven't really had a chance to do that, but they have groups and patterns, and there's classes that you can purchase, and resources. One of the resources I noticed is a calculator, to tell you how much yarn you need. So yeah, Erica, go on the shop and take a look at which yarn you'd like and let me know. I can go ahead and send that out to you.
Well, thank you to all of our patrons, our listeners and patrons.
Yeah.
So we appreciate it.
We really do. Karen and Catherine and Debbie and Erica and Janet and Jen and Mary and Pat and Rachel. We really appreciate you being daring adventurers and supporting the podcast, helping us to purchase prizes and helping us to ship things when we have contests and help to pay for the hosting fees for the podcast. So it's really nice. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if anyone else is interested, I'll put the link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/2Us.
I think that's everything.
Okay, well, I hope you stay warm.
I'm going to stay warm. I'm going to go back and work on my sock here a little bit more and then think about what's for dinner.
Oh, so I have dinner already in the oven.
Oh, you do?
Now that Robert is working swing shift, he texted me today and he said, I know this is your hangry day.
Oh.
So here's dinner. And he took a picture. He had a tuna casserole set up for me to put in the oven. So I put it in the oven before we started recording. So I'm just going to go down and eat dinner.
I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
All right, Marcia.
Okay, we'll talk.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.